All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here, and today we got a little treat for you. Okay, today I'm going to be talking about the favorite princes that the JCI have clumped together over the last 2,000 years. Okay. And what's interesting to know is that you can go through the entire Bible from the Old Testament to the New, and you can come up with the seven, how should I say this? The seven sins, okay, as what they're referred to, okay? And I think this will be good for you because, number one, if you're interested in demonolatry, you're going to learn something about some of these beings. Second of all, you're going to learn how these beings became associated with sins. Okay. And the thing is that these beings throughout almost 1,000 years really have been regurgitated before finally placed in the Bible. Okay. Now, what's ironic here is that these beings can be associated to a grimoire that came out in the 2nd century, known as the Constitution of Pope Honorius. Okay. But it's mostly utilized by certain informational texts, scrolls, grimoires, that have really spoken on them from both the left-hand path and the right-hand path practices. And I think a lot of them are going to surprise the hell out of you. Okay? Now, why don't we begin? Now, we know that Lucifer is associated with pride. We know Beelzebub is envy. Satan is wrath. Abaddon, sloth. Mammon, greed. Belphegor, gluttony. And Asmodeus, lust. Now, what's ironic is that a lot of the texts, a lot of the grimoires align wrath and lust with Asmodeus. You see, he can be traced all the way back to the Book of Tobit, which is a Jewish text. That's right, a Jewish text. This is Middle Eastern, okay? Philosophy. Now, in 1409 to 1410, within the, how should I say this? It's a French grimoire, and it's known as the Latiny of Light, okay? And it was produced by an English individual, Lowland, who attributed John Wycliffe, how should I say this? His work was actually based off of his, okay? So the classification of the seven sins, aka the seven deadly sins, okay, which is kind of cool because this is a short little text. It's almost like a scroll, if you wish, okay, and it is something that is very, very interesting to read how these two men, Wycliffe and Lowland, okay, wrote about these seven sins, their classifications, what created them, how did they come about. Very enlightening. In the De Occulta, that's right, occulta, with an A at the end of occult, Philosophy, with an IA at the end, which was 1509 to 1510, which was about 100 years later. Agrippa gave a different view. Lucifer, one prince, of rebellion, of angels, and of darkness. In 1589, the seven became known as the Princes of Hell by Peter Binsfield. Okay? That's something that was very interesting right there. In 1591, prior to the King James Version, or I should say the authorized version of this Bible, James wrote 3 short books on sorcery, magic, and witchcraft, defining them within a dissertation, okay? A dissertation, which is almost like an essay type formulation if you think about it. In the philosophical play, okay, perspective. And this, by King James, became known as the dissertation titled Demonology, okay, with an IE at the end. So you got to remember that. And I do recommend that you look this up, okay, because there's a lot of information there. There's a lot of different perspectives, and you're going to find a very interesting, enlightening view, okay? He stated these can be broken down into 4 categories of, or I should say, for demons to create mischief of some sort amongst corpses within the form of torment. Okay? Here he writes that without God's permission or supervision, to further illustrate, and I want you to pay attention to this because it's called the rod of correction. The rod of correction. Now, as occultists, as practitioners of demonolatry, anyone who's read the Grand Grimoire or the Grand Grimoire Red Dragon has heard of the rod of power, but not many authors have written on the rod of correction. Okay, so this actually set this scroll aside. Okay, when men stray from the will of God. Okay, now you notice how it was written from the will of God. Okay, basically, before you do anything according to the JCI, you need to go to God and you need to do this, 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 and this. Okay, live right for Him, repent, be baptized, yada, 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 and be right with Him. It's the only way that you can deal with a demon and not be corrupted. This is the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? And yes, I just noticed my brother John Saunders is on here, along with sister and fellow occultist Judy Carter. Welcome to the channel. And like I said, so I mean, right here it says the rod of correction. And this is done through not only asking permission, but through the supervision of their God. Okay? And the rod of power is literally deployed when men stray from the will of God. Okay, so if you basically it's that duality factor. Okay, if you're living right for God and you're doing this, this, and this for Him, and you're listening to what He's telling you, you're all good. But wait, if you get a mind of your own and you start learning the truth, out comes that rod of correction because you've strayed from the will of God. Okay? And this is seen in 4 categories: the spectra, obsession, possession, and most importantly, fairies. Okay? Now, in folklore, paganism, Wicca, Wiccan practices, we've all heard of fairies, the Fae. These are beings that are very, very enlightening to see how they are incorporated. When we talk about demonic possession, we see where it's associated with witchcraft, necromancy, divination, and most importantly, possession. But here, okay, here we're seeing the spectra, okay? We're seeing the obsession with demonolatry, with the occult, with the forms of witchcraft, magic, and sorcery, okay? Where people are being seduced, they're being guided away from this herd conformity, and they're becoming individuals, they're awakening. And that's what the church cannot handle. That is what they don't want. They want your money, they want your complete sheephood. They want you to serve on your knees and say, "Yes, sir. How high should I jump?" Plain and simple. Okay? Now, in 1613, Sebastian Michaelis wrote a book called Admirable History. Admirable History. Okay? Here, his thesis is based off of the Pseudo-Dionysian hierarchies. Okay? And what's this one? Which is kind of cool because of the fact that we've all heard of the Dionysian coven, the path of Dionysus, Crowley's ex-wife. Okay? But here you're actually seeing the Pseudo-Dionysian hierarchies. And trust me, there are many hierarchies that are viewed to be connected to these seven princes of sin. Okay, so basically the way he wrote it was that a certain sin was associated with a certain being that was either slothful, wrath, or say lustful. Okay, we know from the book of Enoch, the three books of Enoch, that angels were lustful towards the daughters of men, so they took them as wives, and these women bore children known as Nephilim unto them. And these Nephilim were known as giants in the land. They were known as wise men of renowned standing. Okay? And this was based off of St. John's model within the three hierarchies. So, I mean, right there, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing biblical accounts that were based off occultist perspectives. Okay? Occultist. I'm talking witchcraft, sorcery. Okay? Now, what's ironic is that when we get into grimoires, and I put this down underneath references because of the fact that you'd be surprised just how many of them speak upon these beings. The Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, also known as the Book of Abramelin, okay, was written around the 14th and 15th century. Okay, the Livre, I should say, because it's Livre, de Esperits, with a Z at the end, 15th to 16th century. Okay, the Munich Manual of Demonic Magic, 15th century. The Fasciculus Rerum Geometric Arum, written in 1494. The La Dragon Rouge, aka the Grand Grimoire. Remember, I mentioned that earlier. This is also known as the True Grimoire. Okay, published in 1517 by Alebek the Egyptian, but considered to have been written in the 18th century. Okay, so you do have to keep an eye out for those little twists. Now, what's interesting here as well is that these beings are found in the Basuda Monarchia Daemonum, 1563, the Lesser Key of Solomon, the Ars Goetia, the Dictionary Infernal, written in 1863. The first published, though, of this book was actually in 1818. So remember that, okay? And then you have the Satanic Bible by Anton Zander LaVey. Satan, Lord of the Inferno, is Hebrew. Lucifer, the morning star, Latin or Roman mythology. Okay. Belial, without a master, he who has no master, is Hebrew. Leviathan, the serpent of the abyss, is also Hebrew. Okay. So when you look into these accounts and you look into these different grimoires, you're going to see the correlations, but you're also going to see the overlapping information. That overlapping information is what you really want to go by. Okay. You do want to pay attention to the details within the scripts. Sometimes you have to read between the lines, and when you get into the individual history, their mythology, you're going to see how rich these beings can really be, how in depth their enlightenment is. And I'm going to be showing you this aspect throughout the next 7 videos that I'm going to be doing, because I'm going to be talking about each individual per video. Okay. And I'm going to bring to light their perspectives, how they were seen, where did they come from region wise, what names have they been known to go by, the spellings even. Okay. So the next 7 videos, I'm going to pick one at a time, and I'm going to break it down and discuss them. All right. So I hope this has been enlightening. I hope it's been educational. I want to thank Judy Carter for jumping on here, and I want to thank my brother John for jumping on here. Okay. And I look forward to seeing all of you over the next 7 videos. If you like what I do, hit the subscribe button or the like button. Doesn't matter which. If you like what I do, feel free to follow. Subscribe if you want. It's up to you. Nobody's putting a proverbial gun to your head. But hey, this is about education. It's about enlightenment, and it's about truth. Actual facts and backing it up. And that's what I'm about. All right? So until next time, have a good night or day, depending on where you are. All right? Enjoy.